Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale aeromodelling. Hello again modellers, and welcome back to the workshop. We're still working on the Blackburn monoplane, but today we're going to do something rather special. I've been looking forward to and dreading this bit of the build. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and it's been on my mind right from the very beginning. One of the features of the Blackburn monoplane is all this aluminium. And if you can't do it in aluminium, then I don't really want to do it. So today I'm going to show you how I made the nose ball. So all I did was rub soap, normal household soap, it's quite an old bar of soap, onto the surface of the aluminium there, and then I put some heat on the back until the soap turned black. And it hasn't gone as black as I was expecting it, but it is annealed, I can feel it. It's softer. Right, so what we've got here, my good friend Matt printed these on his 3D printer, and basically that's the shape of the cowl, or the front bowl bit of the cowl. It's actually minus about 0.5 millimeter. That's the actual shape. So if you put one inside the other, you can see there's a little tiny bit of distance between the two halves, and in theory that should be the thickness of the aluminium. We should need only the lower one, but I've got the upper one just in case I wanted to try and form it against that. So it's printed, I think, in PLA, but I'm not absolutely certain, and he's not really worried about the weight too much. It's a fairly rugged looking piece. So what we're going to try and do is rub that in a circular motion and get it to stretch into that shape. What I'm going to use is one of my dapping block tools just to help with this. Now I don't know whether this is going to work, and this is just the normal 0.3 mil lithoplate, the heavier lithoplate, and I'm just going to give it a go. I'm not sure whether it'll work. We may need to go to, I've got some 0.5 mil bits which might be better. We'll have to see. Right, I can feel that already, it's grabbing on the metal. So what we need is missing. Ah, why are things always missing? Why can I never find things? So what we need is some Vaseline, petroleum jelly. Should work. We just put a blob on there, and then we'll see if that helps. There we go. and we're starting to pick up the hard edge already. Now, as I say, I don't know whether this metal's going to be thick enough that we can stretch this far without it splitting and tearing. And this will work harden as we go, so we'll have to re-anneal it from time to time. Now this side over here is definitely harder. It's not giving as much as this other side, so I think I maybe didn't anneal this one side enough or as much. Try and keep it even. And you can see we're actually getting there, probably about halfway down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to anneal that again, just give it another quick going over with the heat. Make sure I get some soap in there so I can see what's going on. Hopefully the petroleum jelly won't set light to anything. Got it. That got a lot hotter that time. I think this is the reason I'm wearing the gloves. I think on the next one I might hold it with a pair of pliers. Let's just let the heat go from that. And we'll see if we can get a bit further. See how much softer that is now. And you can see we've put quite a considerable bow in that, or dish in that, and it's getting thin in the middle, but it's not too bad. We don't actually need the middle, so I'm not too worried if I actually puncture through it. The middle, it's the sides we need, and we actually only need just over half of it, so I've only got to get just over half of this to work. So fingers crossed, we'll keep going. That noise there, I think, was the sound of the aluminium hitting the bottom of the plug, just in the middle. Which will be very pleasing indeed. So getting quite thin on the bottom. You see we're getting very close. The sides should be vertical, so we've got a little bit more work to do on the sides, but we're very close. There are some that work with lith that like to hit it and force it into shape. I think I've said this before on one of the videos. I'm one of those people that actually like to tease it into shape. I probably am going to have to get into the new age and get a printer. What Matt's created here has saved me so much work. I had thought of turning one on the lathe, and I could have made this wooden bowl on the lathe, but actually this is probably more accurate. That shows you how close we are. It's just this corner here that's not right. That's a good little tool. Having the other bit there gives me something to reference. It's still bending, so I'm not going to re-anneal it just yet. I'm hoping that's not a split, and it is. That's a split in the aluminium. Now, as I said, I only need half of this to actually work, so possibly still okay. I can actually hear it rubbing against the plug now, or against the mould. There. Slightly different sound. Now I need to just get right up at the top, right on the lip. That's going to be quite difficult, I think. That's pretty darn good. Just a little tiny bit at the bottom. Hopefully I can do it without damaging it. I'm not too worried about it being wrinkly in the middle because that bit gets cut away. That bit there where it's split, it's definitely not going to be usable. But what I am amazed at is that this thin material actually is able to stretch quite as much as it has. Now of course I should have cleaned this first before I did all this, because the polished surface is now on the inside. Bit of a faux pas there. So I'm now going to have to work quite hard to get that to a good finish. But that's fine. There you go. That's how you can form a cowl. Just going to have a quick look at how this is going to, if it's going to come up. I'm rather annoyed with myself now for having actually turned it on the wrong side out. Right, I shall keep doing this, and then we can come back to this in a bit. I'm going to try a little bit of 400 paper now just to see if that helps. What I'm trying to do is get rid of the marks and their crease lines that have come in because of the stretching action of the metal. So I'm actually having to sand metal away, which is a bit of a shame. And as I said, it may well be that I've got to go to the thicker aluminium so that I've got more metal to work with, but forming it will obviously be much harder. The issue is there enough metal there to actually allow me to take some off to get it smooth. One of the things we didn't do, which we should have done, is made a little mark in the 3D print, the centre of the parts, that part and this part. This would have made this a lot easier. So what I did was I used a compass to make sure I'd found exactly the middle. I went out to my vertical drill press and drilled a hole straight through, but unfortunately my drill press obviously has been moved to drill something, and I didn't check it before I started, and actually the hole didn't end up going down straight, which is the whole point of using that. I could have come out here and used a hand drill and got it more accurate than that one. Anyway, cut a long story short, I eventually found the centre of this mould here, and I made a little mark. Having found the centre of this, and then I transferred that mark in there. So going to the 3 view, with reference to the 3 view, I was able to work out the diameter of that inner circle, and it is actually 180 degrees through the prop centre, or through the crankshaft, I suppose, centre line, it is a 180 degrees, so we only need half of that, half of this cowl. So there is an area where it fractured over here, and there's an area over here where it didn't. It's just a bit thin and it's a bit wavy, so I thought, well, I may as well use the upper section. So all I did was transfer that dimension of the inner cowl to this piece here. That gives me my cut line, so you can see how much of the cowl we actually need. So I'm going to go and have a look at the drawings and just see if there's actually supposed to be a flange turned in on that. I think it'll be too difficult to actually do it, but I'll go and have a look. Okay, just check the drawings, and there is no flange on the inside. What they've actually done is turned this over, or it's double thickness or something like that, I don't know, but anyway, there isn't a flange at 90 degrees, so we can cut it straight on that line and we'll be fine. Just thinking about how I'm going to cut it, but don't know how thin this is going to be until we actually cut it. It doesn't feel too bad, it doesn't feel too flimsy. I could score it and then flex it. That might work. How about if we give that a go? Put it back in there just to give it some support while we're working on it. So I'm not going to go too near the line. And in fact, thinking about it, I'm going to cut the outside before I cut the inside. Where am I? Let me mull that over for a minute. That's what happens when I talk without thinking. Now I'm going to cut the inside first, then I'm going to shape the inside, then I'll cut the outside. So I don't think we'll have too much trouble cutting the outside. Oops, actually that line was supposed to go to there. Right, now if I bring it in to the centre, on radials, we might be able to take it apart. I was going to do a curved line around the outside, but actually radials is a little bit easier. Okay, so now if we just flex it in the middle, with a bit of luck, following wind, something might crack. If we can just get one started, we're away. There we go. What's actually happened is I've torn it and it's tearing along the line, so I've got to be very careful here. This is not something I've ever attempted before, but tearing it around the score line seems to be working. Very surprised that did work, but it certainly did. This is what I expected to do once I got my finger into the middle, was to just be able to score it like that. Well, not score it, but rig, flex it backwards and forwards, and it would break the score line. There we go. I'm going to put it back in there and just make sure we've not distorted it, which we haven't. Now, there's not really an easy way to take that cut line to that pencil line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Dremel with a sanding disc, sanding drum in it. It'll be slow, but it will work, and it'll be slow enough that I can be precise. So that's how I'm going to do it. That should do us. I only need a section from there to there. So I'm actually going to mark out what I want. So that's the area around the top, nicely smoothed out, nice and level. Now, I think I need to think about either cutting the entire perimeter or cutting it in half and then the perimeter of the bit that's left. I think I'm going to cut all the way around the outside, and I'm going to start with the side that I'm not going to keep, just to see how it goes. So all I'm going to do is score right on the seam. In fact, I am going to go right the way around because this is probably going to work. The scoring is also having the effect of pulling the lithoplate right hard into that edge. I think that's where we started, I can feel it. So I'll come over to this waste bit and just see if I can just wiggle it, get it to crack, which it's doing. So I think we'll just keep going with that. I'm just going to cut this so that it makes it easier for me to wiggle it. If you tried to cut around the edge of that with a pair of scissors, you can imagine the distortion you'd get. So let's put it back on the former, make sure we've still got it, it's all nice and true. Look, what I'm probably going to do is just tap that edge so that it's, in fact maybe I don't need to, I might just sand the edges just to get them nice. But what I'm going to do next, before I do that, in fact, is it going to be easier to hold if I have it like this? I think it is. Let me sand, see this is the scrap bit, so what I'm going to do is use that area to hold it, and then this is the good area. So I think what I'll do is I'll sand that edge and get it nice. I want to sand this enough that that entire flange just disappears. A couple of areas it's just a little bit, I must have cut just outside of the radius, just a little bit. It's not far enough to worry about really, but and these are cut more on the radius, so they're not so bad. But you know me, try to get it spot on. There we go, that'll do nicely. Now I'm actually going to apply a polish to that now. I may as well get it close so that any remedial polishing is only on small areas. So we'll get the Solvol Ultrasol and a cotton bud, and we'll see if we can get that shiny. For a first quick pass, that's pretty good. Getting that, so it's from there to there. It's not perfect, but it's nice and nearly perfect. So we'll now cut the score lines to cut it in half. I'll do those in these plugs. You see how useful these plugs are. It's fantastic. I can't thank Matt enough for doing those. I could have done them in wood, and it wouldn't have been that difficult to do, but there's a couple of hours work there, so I'm very grateful. I think I might cut these with scissors, but I'm going to cut it far enough away from the curve that I'm not going to be flattening it out. Now I can just sort of sneak up on it. Scoring it probably wasn't really necessary. Little snips is working quite well. All this work and worry and stress over such small parts. There we go. Now all we've got to do is sand that. I'll probably just do it like that to my hand at the moment. Right, just going to put it in there for one last time, just to make sure the edges are completely flush with the mould, with the plug. That should do us. And there we have the finished cowl. So there we have it. I've just temporarily attached the cowl to the front of the Blackburn, just so you get an idea of how it's going to look. The section behind this cowl is just a flat curved section, so I can make that now. I'm probably going to add another rail or another bar in from the bottom of the forward cowl to the fuselage, just another carbon rod, just to give it a bit more strength. And there you see. Lovely, isn't it? So I hope that dispels a few myths about how to make this sort of stuff. It's not that difficult. Granted, I had a lot of help from Matt there in that he made the 3D plug for me from my drawing. I sent him the drawing and he said he could do it in seconds. I'm sure it would have taken me hours, but it didn't. But he did it for me. So a big thank you to Matt for help doing that. That's a huge milestone for me to get that cowl sorted. Anyway, there you go. If you've enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.